What do you think is the moral of the story? What are some of the most important lessons you have learned from the story? And how would you apply such lessons in a real-world situations or scenarios? So guys, are these lines familiar to you? Does it ring a bell? Well, we're going to talk about that in no time. Good day everyone, I am Julian Sineza and I'm going to introduce to you one of the approaches in teaching literature. So I bet you're familiar with the fable The Ant and the Grasshopper or The Lion and the Mouse. What can you say about it or what have you learned from it? Now, I'm pretty sure you are wondering what's the connection of it to our discussion. Well, today we're going to discuss the moral philosophical approach.
Good day. Since we are having the discussion about the context of the moral or philosophical approach, so let's first define what is moral or philosophical approach. Moral is based on what you think is right and wrong, and agreeing with the standards and norms with the society. What about philosophical? Philosophical relating or based on philosophy. And what is approach? Approach is close in or draw on. Within that, we can make a definition about the moral and philosophical approach by context. So moral or philosophical critics believe that the larger purpose of literature is to teach morality and to probe philosophical issues. So this approach is useful for such work as Alexander Pope, An Essay on Man, which does present an obvious moral philosophy. So the debate over the purpose of Aristotle and Plato, which stretches back to ancient days of literature. So Plato wrote in Republic that literature's purpose is to instruct the audience in morality, while although Aristotle is Plato's student, reasonably disagreed and believed literature was an experience for the audience. So a moral philosophical approach is a type of literary criticism that believes literature should instruct morality. And that's the context of moral and philosophical approach.
So the moral philosophical approach adopted in teaching enables the teacher to lead the learners in discussing moral values discernible in a text. According to Sheen, the test of interpretation of literary texts may further assist learners to explore how the text project and manifest the world we inhabit. Apart from that, according to Ricoeur, teachers who guide learners to read and interpret literary works under this approach may help learners to reach self-understanding and self-realization. Literature is and always says be an important source of moral guidance and spiritual inspiration. Aristotle considered literature as capable of fostering virtue. Samuel Johnson said that the function of literature is to teach morality and probe philosophical issues. Matthew Arnold also said that poetry's most important offering is its moral philosophical teaching and that it is the source of moral and spiritual inspiration. So the moral philosophical approach has 8 tenets. First, it investigates the effects of literature has on readers as moral beings. Second, it is based on what improves and enriches human lives. Third, it is concerned with human character and behavior. Fourth, it looks at texts as combinations of various moral qualities. Fifth, it questions how literature is influenced by the plot, the character, the ideas, and style. Sixth, it views the works through a particular philosophy or discerns the work to the philosophy on which it is based. 7. It looks at how the work influenced or was influenced by the ideas of the time. And lastly, it views the ideas of a work in relation to ideas found elsewhere. So in general curriculum, teachers are always encouraged to incorporate values in the lesson. While it is very important to hone the skills and intellect of the learners, it is also essential to develop the moral self of the learners. Through this approach, it helps the teachers to develop the learners to become a well-rounded person.
So here are some ways to apply this approach effectively.
As a teacher, we are also learning by doing. Apart from understanding why students are behaving in a particular way, teachers would also be able to know how students perceive their actions. So, how will I make the moral philosophical approach be more effective? We teachers need to make sure that we do the right thing and conduct ourselves along the highest moral standards. Judge fairly, practice honesty and respect, share, demonstrate responsibility, and allow your students to see how will you embody these characteristics in and out of the classroom. Besides, being a source of knowledge and truth and facilitator of learning, a good teacher works endlessly to foster the desirable characteristics of students. Because by teaching moral, the duties and responsibilities of a teacher are to ensure that all students develop the following desirable characteristics or moral values. And as we all know, morality affects the decisions of the people daily since they decide to do right or wrong. People should maintain moral values including respect, integrity, honesty, and patience so as to lead good and happy life.
Moral philosophical approach. So what is really this moral philosophical approach? So moral philosophical approach is one of the approaches in teaching literature in which it believes that the largest purpose of literature is to teach morality and to probe philosophical questions to your students. So as a teacher, how can we make this moral philosophical approach more effective? Since the main purpose of literature is to teach morality and to probe philosophical questions. So here are some ways on how to make this moral philosophical approach more effective, especially inside your classroom. So as a teacher, you have to acknowledge your students that they will be encountering difficult moral questions every day, and they really need guidance. Second is to recognize that no subject is morally neutral. Third, you have to build trust inside the classroom. Fourth, you have to enlist support from your colleagues and administrators. Fifth, we have to gather great learning resources. Sixth, we have to permit ambiguity. And last is have faith in your students. And that way, we can make this moral philosophical approach effective inside the classroom. So to wrap up everything, here are some activities that applies moral philosophical approach.
Good day, Mr. Patambag. Can you recall what is our topic last meeting?
So we discussed about moral philosophical approach.
Okay, that's it. We discussed about moral philosophical approach. Now we will continue to tackle about it, and I will give you some examples about moral philosophical approach. So let's try to watch this video.
Once upon a time, there was a shepherd boy who used to take his flock of sheep to the hill to graze on fresh green grass. Sitting there, he had nothing to do the whole day. One day, an idea struck him. To overcome his boredom, he cried out, "Wolf! Wolf!" All the men came running with their sticks, and to their dismay, found no wolf. The boy laughed. The wolf, however, did truly come at last. The shepherd boy, now really alarmed, shouted in agony of terror, "Pray do come and help me! The wolf is killing the sheep!" No one paid any heed to his cries, nor rendered any assistance. The wolf, having no cause of fear at his leisure, lacerated and destroyed the whole flock. What is
So that's it. What is the moral of the story?
So the boy lied often that when he finally told the truth, no one believed him. The moral of the story is that no one believes a liar, even when he speaks the truth. The truth doesn't cost anything, but a lie could cost you everything. That's all, ma'am.
Okay, that's a very good answer, Mr. Patambag. So I will ask you, have you ever tried to be that boy? Or
Can you repeat again, ma'am?
have you experienced to act like that boy?
Um, for me, no, ma'am, because um, everything I'm talk with my friends or my family, um, I see it from them seriously or honest.
Oh, that's very good. So another example, Mr. Patambag, is this. I will show you a picture, then you will elaborate it. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. It is from Father Stewart, a justice of the Supreme Court. Are you done?
For being a person, sometimes it depends upon situation and how you handle your feelings. So, however, your life is full of trials, but it depends on how you handle it appropriately. For being a good nor bad, but it depends upon your but it depends upon situation.
It is really depend on us. So what what we what we do is depend on our in our ego, right? Conscience between you, then you will start thinking of the right thing to do. So that would be all for today, Mr. Isidro. And thank you for listening for today's discussion. Goodbye and
Sige, thank you, ma'am.
Here are some highlights of the discussion. The philosophical approach doesn't look a book as a piece of art with no moral implications. It is considered the message of the story is as important as the story itself. Remember to think about using the moral philosophical approach when finding or looking at a theme of a story, or when reading a story that is obviously centered on some specific moral. Our group concludes that this approach is essential in nurturing the moral values, in molding the character of every student, and in shaping the student's personality. This approach is as important in building the skills and intellect of the student. Just like how the famous saying of Albert Einstein goes, if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. And that's it. We hope we're able to instill some lessons in your heart and in your mind from today's discussion. Thank you for listening and have a great day, everyone.